You know, there are exactly two universally accepted smells in an American suburb on a Saturday: fresh-cut grass and charcoal. Three, if you count the faint, chlorine-y whiff of a neighbor's pool. I was providing one of them. I was a contributing member of the suburban sensory experience. Apparently, that was a problem. It was a perfect Saturday. The sky was that deep, cloudless blue you only get in late spring, and a gentle breeze was smart enough to keep the humidity at bay. This was, in no uncertain terms, a grilling day. This was a day gifted by the gods of hickory and flame. I was in my temple, the backyard, and I was in the middle of a 6-hour sermon. On the altar, my 22-inch Weber kettle sat a glorious 8-pound pork shoulder. I'd been up since 5 a.m. I'd made the rub from scratch: paprika, cayenne, dark brown sugar, garlic powder, a little mustard, and a few secrets I'd sooner give up my social security number than reveal. The smoke was a pale, fragrant blue, curling lazily from the vents. I was nursing a beer, listening to a ball game on the radio, and I was, by any reasonable metric, a man at peace with the universe. And then I heard it. It wasn't a hello. It wasn't a howdy, neighbor. It was a ahem. It was a sound engineered in a lab to curdle milk, a sound that carries with it the full weight of human disappointment. I turned. Standing at the low, decorative picket fence that separated my yard from the one next door was a woman. I'd seen the moving truck a few weeks back, but hadn't had the pleasure. She was in her 50s, wearing a blindingly white tennis visor, a matching pastel blue tracksuit, and gardening gloves that looked like they had never, not once, touched actual dirt. She was holding a small, decorative watering can, but she wasn't watering. She was staring. At me. At my grill. At my beautiful, beautiful smoke. I pulled off my sunglasses. "Oh, hey there. Just moved in, right? I'm Dave." She did not smile. She looked at me. Then her gaze drifted to the plume of smoke, which the breeze was, I admit, carrying right toward her perfect beige-colored house. "Excuse me," she said. Her voice was as thin and tight as a piano wire. "I don't know if you're aware." Oh boy, the aware opener. Nothing good ever follows. I don't know if you're aware. "But your smoke," she said smoke, like it was a 4-letter word, like I was burning a dumpster full of tires, "is blowing directly into my open windows." I gave her my most neighborly, non-confrontational smile. "Oh, hey, sorry about that. It's kinda how grilling works. The wind, you know? It does what it wants. Well, it's just very strong." I nodded, still smiling. "Yeah, it's applewood and cherry. It's a great combo for pork. You'll get a real nice pink smoke ring with this mix." Her face puckered, as if she'd just bitten into a lemon that had personally offended her. "It's permeating my drapes. I just had my linens laundered, and the odor, it's just clinging to everything." Okay. Now it was my turn to be offended. I looked at my grill. I looked at the masterpiece I was creating. I looked back at her. "Lady," I thought, "I've spent 6 hours on this rub. Odor is not the word. Award-winning is. Get in my belly is. A fragrant offering to the gods of meat is. But not odor. Odor is what's in your cat's litter box. This is art." What I said was, "Oh, sorry, it's my weekend hobby. I'm a bit of a BBQ nut." "Yes, well," she said, her eyes narrowing. It's offensive. Offensive? My pork shoulder was offensive. I didn't know how to respond to that. It was like she'd just called my newborn baby ugly. I just kind of stood there, tongs in hand. I tried to de-escalate. I'm a peaceful man by nature. A man of smoke, not of war. Well, they'll be done in about another hour, if that helps. The smoke should die down a lot then. This apparently was the wrong thing to say. An hour, she said, aghast. I have guests coming. I can't have my house smelling like a bonfire. It's really not a bonfire, I said, my patience starting to thin. It's a very controlled, 225-degree indirect cook. She just waved her hand, a gesture of stop speaking your peasant language at me. Perhaps, she suggested, her voice dripping with faux politeness, you could do that somewhere else. I genuinely, truly did not understand. I looked around my yard. My grill was on my patio. My patio was attached to my house. This was my property. Somewhere else? I asked. Like at the park? Down the street? This is my backyard. Well, it's a nuisance, she said. And that was the word she'd been waiting to use. She'd probably practiced it in the mirror. Nuisance. And I'm just letting you know. It's a formal complaint. If it continues, I'll have to take it up with the HOA and the city. She didn't wait for a response. She just turned, her pastel blue tracksuit squeaking in indignation, and marched back to her house. Her window, the one that was apparently being so violated, slid shut with a sharp thud. I was left alone, bewildered. I looked at my grill. I looked at my house. I lifted the lid of the Weber and basted the pork. It hissed gently. A nuisance? I muttered to the pork shoulder. She called you a nuisance. The audacity. You're beautiful, and I love you. My wife, Sarah, came out the sliding glass door, holding 2 fresh beers. Who was that? I think I just met our new neighbor, I said, taking the beer. I think I just met a Brenda. A Karen, honey, she corrected, sipping her drink. Right, that. Anyway, she's not a fan of my meat. Dave, please don't, Sarah sighed, sitting down. No, I'm serious. She said the smoke from my pork is offensive and a nuisance, and she's going to report me to the city. Sarah looked from my grill to the neighbor's house. Really? It smells amazing out here. That's what I said! But apparently it's permeating her drapes. Sarah sighed again, that long-suffering sigh of a woman married to a man who, she knows, is about to become obsessed with something ridiculous. I don't know, Dave. Maybe move the grill to the other side of the patio next time? It's not worth a fight. Yeah, I said, but I wasn't really listening. I was just staring at the fence. Yeah, maybe. But in my heart, I knew. This wasn't over. This was a to be continued. You don't call a man's pork offensive and expect him to just move his grill. That's not how America works. A few days passed. I let it go. I'm a reasonable guy. Maybe she was having a bad day. Maybe her drapes were, in fact, incredibly absorbent and delicate. Who knows? I'm not a drapeologist. The next Wednesday, I decided to do something quick. Just a few burgers for me and Sarah. No 6-hour smoke session. Just a 10-minute high-heat sear. We're talking minimal smoke. The kind of smoke you could barely detect from 20 feet away. I lit the chimney starter, waited for the coals to ash over, and dumped them in. As I was waiting for the grill to heat up, I walked out to check the mail. And there it was. It wasn't in an envelope. It wasn't stamped. It was a single, crisp, white sheet of computer paper, folded in thirds, and tucked into the handle of my mailbox. Delivered by hand. My blood went a little cold. This felt different. This felt calculated. I unfolded it. It was typed. Times New Roman. 12-point. Dear neighbor at 1420. Oh, she didn't even use my name. Nice touch. It has come to my attention that despite my polite, in-person request this past Saturday, your excessive and noxious smoke-generating activities have not ceased. This past Wednesday, at approximately 6:15 p.m., you were once again engaged in this activity. I looked at my watch. It was 6:20 p.m. This was a real-time complaint letter. She must have typed it up, sprinted across her lawn, and stuffed it in my mailbox while my burgers were cooking. Please be advised, it continued, that this is a direct violation of City Ordinance 47B regarding excessive smoke and unpleasant odors which constitute a public nuisance. This is my final written warning. Future infractions will be reported directly to the proper authorities, and I will be pursuing all available legal remedies. And then the kicker, the signature. Sincerely, Brenda K. Williamson, 1422 Sycamore, your neighbor. I stared at it. I walked back into the house and handed it to Sarah, who was chopping onions. She used her middle initial, honey, I said, my voice dangerously calm. Brenda K. Williamson. This is like legally binding in her head. She thinks she's a law firm. The law offices of Williamson and Associates, specializing in drape permeation and general misery. Sarah read it, her eyes getting wide. Oh my God. Noxious smoke-generating activities? You were making hamburgers, Dave. This woman is insane. Right? And she hand-delivered it. While I was grilling, that's next-level Karening. That's like the final boss. Just move the grill, Sarah said, turning back to her onions, though she was chopping a little more aggressively now. Please, for me, just move it to the other side of the yard. It's not worth it. I sighed. A deep, put-upon, the world is unjust sigh. Fine, I'll be a good little neighbor. I'll move my noxious smoke-generating device. So that Saturday, I did. I wrestled the Weber kettle off the patio and dragged it through the grass to the other side of my yard. This was, I might add, an incredibly inconvenient spot. It was near the trash cans. It was on uneven ground. I had to roll up a 50-foot extension cord to plug in my radio. But I did it. I was being compliant. I was being the bigger man. Happy? I yelled to the empty air. Now it's blowing into my windows, which I am fine with because it smells like deliciousness. I was grilling chicken. Just simple, marinated chicken breasts. The most inoffensive, pedestrian, universally accepted grilled meat in the American culinary canon. If you have a problem with grilled chicken, you have a problem with joy. I'd been at it for maybe 20 minutes. The chicken was sizzling nicely. I'd just flipped it, getting those perfect cross-hatched grill marks. And then I saw it. The slow, unmistakable crawl of a black and white police cruiser, rolling down our quiet street. It slowed. It stopped. Right in front of my house. My heart sank. My stomach did a flip. You have got to be kidding me. A uniformed officer got out. He didn't look happy. He looked tired. He looked like a man who had been dealing with barking dogs and kids on my lawn complaints all day, and this was just the cherry on his sundae of suburban misery. He walked up my driveway, his hand on his belt. "Sir," he called out, I'm, I'm Officer Miller. We got a call about a smoke complaint? I just stared at him. I couldn't speak. I just pointed at my grill with my tongs. It's chicken, officer, I finally managed to say. On a grill. It's 4 p.m. on a Sunday. This is like the most American thing I can possibly be doing right now. Am I getting arrested for chicken? Officer Miller walked over and, to his credit, looked at the grill. He sniffed the air. Marinated? Italian dressing? You've got a good nose, officer, I said. You want one? I made extra. He almost smiled. Almost. Look, man, I can smell it. Smells great. My wife's making pasta tonight. I wish I was eating this. But the neighbor over there, he thumbed towards Brenda's house, is citing Ordinance 47B, nuisance smoke. She says it's excessive, and it's causing her respiratory distress. I threw my hands up in the air. Respiratory distress? From chicken? It's a 22-inch kettle. It's not a blast furnace. What does excessive even mean? Am I supposed to grill with a fire extinguisher in my hand? Did she also report a case of being a miserable human being? Officer Miller sighed, taking his hat off and wiping his forehead. I gotta be honest, she's persistent. She called 3 times. 3, said the dispatcher. The first time she said it was billowing. The second time she said it was acrid. The third time she used the respiratory distress line. That's a magic word. We have to roll on respiratory distress. So, here I am. He looked at my grill. He looked at the thin wisp of smoke. He looked at me. Look, I have to give you an official warning, he said, and he sounded genuinely apologetic. It's stupid. You know it's stupid. I know it's stupid. But if we get called out here again for the same complaint, from the same complainant, I have to write a citation. I was floored. My jaw was on the pavement. A citation? A fine? For grilled chicken? For creating a public nuisance, technically, Miller corrected. Look, just try to keep it down, okay? I don't know. Maybe use less charcoal, or I don't know, man. Just try to wrap it up. Use less charcoal? I sputtered. That's not how... You can't... It needs heat. I'm just trying to help you out, man, he said, putting his hat back on. I don't want to come back here. I really don't want to come back here. My shift's over in an hour. Just be done soon, okay? Yeah, fine. Whatever. I'll be done. He nodded, gave me a look of pure, unadulterated, I'm so sorry, and walked back to his cruiser. As he was pulling away, I looked over at Brenda's house. And there she was, in the window. The one that was, once again, shut tight. She wasn't holding a phone. She wasn't looking distressed. She was just watching. And as Officer Miller's car turned the corner, she smiled. It wasn't a big smile. It was a small, smug, tight-lipped little smile. The smile of someone who had just proven a point. The smile of someone who had just won. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't about the smoke. It was never about the smoke. It wasn't about drapes or odors or respiratory distress. It was about control. It was about her being able to tell me what I could and couldn't do. In my yard. On my property. I felt a cold, clear, sharp rage settle over me. This wasn't a neighborly dispute anymore. This was a war, and she had just launched the first volley with a cop. She had brought law enforcement, my tax dollars, into a culinary dispute. Bad move, Brenda. Bad move. You don't bring a cop to a BBQ fight. I looked at my chicken. It was ruined. Charred on the outside, raw on the inside. I'd been too busy getting a criminal warning to tend to it. I shut the grill down. I went inside, and I sat down at my computer. "You want to play with ordinances, Brenda K. Williamson?" I muttered, cracking my knuckles. "Let's play. I work from home. I have all day to read ordinances." The next 7 days were, without exaggeration, the dark week. I was in a funk, a deep, grill-less funk. I'd walk out onto my patio and just look at my Weber. It sat there under its black vinyl cover, a silent, sad monument to my subjugation. It looked like a tomb. I felt like I should put a flag at half-mast next to it. I was a prisoner in my own home. I was eating salads. I was microwaving. Sarah, bless her heart, tried to be supportive. She made oven-roasted chicken. It was fine. It was cooked. But it was clean. It had no soul. It didn't have the kiss of the flame. It was compliant. I hated it. "I can't live like this, Sarah," I moaned, poking at a pale, oven-baked pork chop on Tuesday. "This isn't living." "It's just chicken, Dave. It's not the end of the world." "It's not just chicken," I protested. "It's the principle. She's won. She's looking out her window right now, seeing my grill-less, smokeless yard, and she's laughing. I can feel it." "Dave, I promise you, that woman is not laughing. I don't think she knows how to laugh." I retreated to my office and called my best friend, Mike. If Sarah was the angel on my shoulder, Mike was the little devil, holding a beer and a stick of dynamite. "I'm a prisoner, Mike," I said, pacing my office. "In my own home. I'm looking at my grill right now. It's just sitting there. It's depressing. It's covered. I feel like I should put it at half-mast." "Dude, you cannot let this stand." Mike's voice crackled over the speakerphone. "You are letting her win. You can't let the Karens win. That's how they multiply. It's a known scientific fact. You let one win, and 2 more sprout up in the neighborhood." "But she's got the cops, man. I'm 1 chicken breast away from a criminal record. Officer Miller knows my name, Mike. He knows my face. I'm in the system." "So? That's what she wants. She wants you to be scared. She's using fear. This is like suburban terrorism. You're a grill roarist victim." "Grill roarist? Yeah. Look, what's this ordinance? Did you even read it?" "Of course I read it. I've been reading nothing else." "And? What's it say?" I sat down at my laptop. I'd been staring at the city's municipal code website for 3 nights straight, fueled by spite and microwaved chili. My eyes were burning. Okay, I said, clicking the link for the 100th time. City of Sycamore Springs Municipal Code, Chapter 9, Section 47B, Nuisance Smoke and Odors. Boring. Get to the good part. Right, blah blah blah. It shall be unlawful for any person to yada yada. Here. It shall be unlawful to cause, permit, or maintain any excessive, acrid, or offensive smoke from an open-flame cooking device not intended for its original purpose, or in such a way as to cause undue discomfort or annoyance to any reasonable person. I stopped. I read the line again. Mike, are you hearing this? Yeah. Undue discomfort. Reasonable. Person. That's subjective. She's not reasonable. Case closed. No, not that part. The part before it. Read it back to me. I cleared my throat. Any excessive, acrid, or offensive smoke from an open-flame cooking device? I said it again, slower. Open-flame device. A slow, beautiful, maniacal grin spread across my face. The gears started turning. The clouds parted. A choir of angels started singing, and they sounded suspiciously like a pig roast. An open flame device, I whispered. Mike, a Weber kettle? That's an open flame device. A gas grill? Open flame? A campfire? Open flame? Yeah, dude, that's how grilling works. Fire. Hot. But what if it wasn't? I said, my fingers flying across the keyboard. What if the flame was enclosed? My Google search changed. Enclosed smoke-free roaster. Commercial-grade low-smoke cooker. How to technically not have an open flame. And then I found it. It wasn't on a Home Depot site. It wasn't on a BBQ enthusiast forum. It was on a restaurant supply website. The Swine Nami 5000 Commercial Hog Roaster. I clicked. It was beautiful. It was stainless steel. It was the size of a smart car. It was trailer mounted. It had dual axles and its own VIN number. It wasn't a grill. It was a vehicle. A vehicle of vengeance. Oh my God, Mike breathed. I'd angled my webcam at the screen. Look at the specs, Mike, I said, my voice trembling with excitement. It can handle a 200-pound hog. It's low smoke because the fire is in a separate, fully enclosed firebox. It's an indirect heat roaster. It's a mobile commercial kitchen. It's not open flame, Mike. It's a contained flame. It's an oven, a glorious 800-pound trailer-mounted oven. Dave, that's not a BBQ. That's an incinerator. That's a piece of commercial catering equipment. You're not seriously? Where am I going to put it? I said, thinking aloud. I can't just park it on the driveway. She'll have it towed. She'll say it's an abandoned vehicle. Dave, Mike said, you're scaring me a little. No, I said, grabbing a piece of paper. It can't be mobile. It has to be permanent, a fixture of the house. I started sketching. I'll pour a concrete pad. Right on the property line, as close as the city code will let me get. A throne. I'll build it a throne. Dave, that's going to cost, like, thousands of dollars. I looked at the price on the Swine Nami 5000. He wasn't wrong. It was a lot. It was an I hope you don't like college kids amount of money. How much is freedom worth, Mike? I asked, looking at the Add to Cart button. How much is the right to grill chicken in your own backyard worth? Probably less than that, man. Sarah's going to murder you. She's going to divorce you and take the house. She can have the house, I said, my hand hovering over the mouse. I'm taking the roaster. I clicked. A thank you for your purchase screen appeared. Your order has been confirmed. Estimated freight delivery, 2 to 3 business days. My credit card screamed. It sent me a fraud alert text almost instantly. I replied, yes. It's done, I said to Mike. The Swine Nami is coming. You really did it. You're a madman. No, Mike, I said, leaning back in my chair and folding my hands behind my head. I'm just a man who's been pushed too far. And now, I'm pushing back, with 200 pounds of pork. Sarah was going to probably scream. My wife was going to kill me, or at least make me sleep on the couch. But the couch was a small price to pay for the look I was going to see on Brenda's face. This was happening. This was so happening. 2 days later. A freight truck rumbled down our quiet street. An 18-wheeler. The kind that says, stay 50 feet back, and means it. The driver, a guy with a neck the size of a tree trunk, looked at the bill of lading, and then at my house, then back at the bill. This is a residence, pal, he grunted. That's right, I said, signing the form. Just, put it in the driveway." He lowered the hydraulic liftgate with a loud hiss. A forklift, which he had on the truck, emerged and proceeded to lower a wooden crate the size of a grand piano onto my driveway. It thudded onto the concrete. And of course, she was there. Brenda. She was on her lawn, pretending to weed a flower bed that contained no weeds. Her eyes were wide with, I don't know, horror? Confusion? She was staring at the crate, which had Swine Nami 5000 and 850 lbs stenciled on the side. She didn't know what it was, but she knew it was for me. And that was enough to make her suspicious. The truck left. I was left alone with the crate. It was immense. I went inside and made the second most important call of this whole operation. "Yeah, Gus? This is Dave. Dave from Sycamore. Yeah, listen. I'm ready to move forward on that patio extension we talked about." Gus was a local contractor. He was a grizzled 60-something man who wore a leather tool belt, had a pencil behind his ear, and looked like he'd been chewing on nails for breakfast. He showed up an hour later in a dusty F-250. He unrolled my hand-drawn blueprint on the hood of his truck. "All right," he grunted. "Let's go over this again. You want a 15 by 10 concrete pad, reinforced with rebar, 8-inch pour." He looked at my drawing. With a dedicated 220-volt outlet and a new dedicated gas line run from the meter. He looked up at me, his eyes squinting in the sun. "What are you building, kid? A fallout bunker?" "Something like that," I said, trying to sound casual. "It's for a new smoker. A big one." Gus's gaze drifted from my drawing to the massive crate in my driveway, and then, like a heat-seeking missile, to Brenda, who was still pretending to weed. He looked back at me. A slow, magnificent smile spread across his leathery face. It was the first time I'd ever seen him smile. "Right," he said, drawing the word out. "A smoker. Going into the catering business, are we?" "You could say that," I said. "A very niche, very local catering business." "A spite smoker," Gus said, nodding with satisfaction. What?" "Spite projects. Best-paying jobs I get. Love 'em." He tapped my drawing. "Had a guy last year over on Oak Street. Neighbor complained about his pickup truck. Said it was an eyesore. So he had me build a 4-car garage right on the property line. Painted it neon green. Thing's hideous. But it's up to code." He slapped me on the back. "A spite smoker. I like it. Okay, kid. My guys will be here Monday, 7 a.m. 7? 7 a.m. sharp," he said, his smile widening. "And we're starting with the jackhammer. Gotta bust up that old patio, right? It's gonna be loud. Real loud." I could have kissed him. Monday, 7 a.m. The sound of a jackhammer shattered the morning calm. It sounded like a giant, angry woodpecker trying to drill its way to the center of the earth. I was in my home office, noise-canceling headphones on, sipping my coffee with a beatific smile on my face. I looked out the window. Brenda's curtains were twitching. Tuesday, 7 a.m. The concrete mixer. A giant, rumbling orange beast that sat in the street for 8 hours, its engine growling, its chute spewing a steady stream of gray sludge. The beep, beep, beep of the truck backing up had been going since 6:50 a.m. Wednesday, 7 a.m. The saws. The high-pitched whine of wet saws cutting the rebar, and the scree of circular saws cutting the forms, followed by hammering. So much hammering. It was glorious. It was the symphony of my revenge. Naturally, the cops came. It was Tuesday, right in the middle of the concrete pour. Officer Miller again. But this time, he didn't look tired. He looked annoyed. "Sir," he said, walking up my driveway, which was currently blocked by a giant concrete truck. He had to yell over the engine. "A noise complaint? It's 10 a.m. on a Tuesday." "Officer," I yelled back, all innocence. "Good to see you. Just some home improvement. You know, adding to the property value. It's the American dream." Gus lumbered over, wiping his hands on a rag. "What's the problem, officer?" "We've got a noise complaint from her," Miller said, jerking his head toward Brenda's. "Says you're running a commercial operation here." "I am running a commercial operation," Gus said, pointing to the logo on his truck. "Gus is Concrete and Construction. We're fully licensed and insured. And," he reached into his truck and pulled out a clipboard, "we've got a city-approved permit for all of it. Signed and sealed. We're up to code. We're done by 5 p.m. She's just gonna have to deal with it." Officer Miller looked at the permit. He looked at the giant, gaping, rebar-filled hole in my backyard. He looked at me. I gave him a little, "Who? Me?" shrug. He just stared. That "you're enjoying this, aren't you?" stare. "I'm just a man trying to enjoy his property, officer," I said, my voice dripping with sincerity. "Just like Brenda?" He just shook his head. He didn't even say anything. He just shook his head, turned around, got in his car, and left. I saw him say something into his radio. It probably involved the words, "civil matter," and "God help me." By Friday, the project was done. It was a masterpiece of petty engineering. It wasn't a patio, it was a throne, a concrete fortress of solitude for pork. The 220V outlet was installed. The gas line was capped and ready. Now the hard part. I called Mike. "It's time. Bring a crowbar." It took us 2 hours. 2 hours of sweating, swearing, and splintered wood. But finally, we uncrated the Nami. We rolled it off the pallet. It gleamed in the afternoon sun. It was terrifyingly large. The stainless steel was blinding. It had a smokestack. A smokestack. Like a little tugboat. Brenda, naturally, was watching the whole thing, her face getting paler and paler. She didn't understand what it was, but she knew it was big. And she knew it was mine. "My God," Mike breathed. It's bigger than I imagined." "It's perfect," I said. We wrestled it onto the concrete pad. It fit perfectly, like it was born there. "Now," I said, "the final step." I opened a toolbox. I took out a drill and a set of heavy-duty concrete anchor bolts. "No," Mike said. "You're not." "Oh, I am." I spent the next hour drilling into Gus's beautiful new concrete and bolting the Nami to the pad. It was no longer a trailer. It was a permanent fixture. It was legally part of my house. An appurtenance, as the law nerds would say. Brenda just stood there, her hands on her hips, her face a mask of pure, unadulterated confusion and rage. She saw the drill. She saw the bolts. She knew, on a primal level, that whatever this was, it wasn't going anywhere. Sarah came home right as I was tightening the last bolt. She got out of her car, holding a bag of groceries, and just froze. "Dave," she said, her voice quiet. Dangerously quiet. "What is that?" I stood up, wiping my hands on my jeans. "Honey, you're home!" I thought you were getting a smoker," she said, walking slowly toward it, like it was a bear that might attack. That looks like something you'd use to cremate a water buffalo." "It's the Swine Nami 5000, honey," I said, patting its shiny flank. And the best part? It's fully compliant with Ordinance 47B. Sarah just stared at me. You laminated the ordinance, didn't you? I beamed, pulling a crisp, laminated sheet of paper from my back pocket. Got one for me, one for you, and one for the glove box. You want to see it? She just sighed, a sigh that contained the weight of all the bad decisions I had ever made. I'm going to buy wine, a lot of wine. Just promise me you won't set the neighborhood on fire. I promise, I said cheerfully. It's not even an open flame. It's safer than the Weber. She just shook her head and went inside. The project was complete. The weapon was in place. The war was about to begin. I took a personal day. A mental health day. My mental health required me to roast a 200-pound animal. My first stop was not the supermarket. This was not a supermarket-sized problem. I drove 40 minutes to the industrial part of town, to a place called Meatpack Wholesalers, a place where men in white coats and chainmail gloves move sides of beef around with hooks. The butcher, a giant man named Sal, looked at me. What'll it be, Chief? Sal, I said, I need a pig. Got some nice shoulders, some bellies. No, Sal, I said, putting my hands on the counter. I need a pig. The whole thing. Give me your biggest pig. Sal's eyebrows went up. My biggest pig? You feeding an army, pal? Something like that, I said. 180, 200 pounds. Whatever you got. I want it dressed and ready for a roaster. A slow smile spread across his face. I like your style, Chief. I got a 185-pounder in the back. She's a beauty. I'll have the boys bring her round. An hour later, I was driving home with a pig the size of a grown man in a cooler in my truck bed. My next step? The invite. I went on Facebook. I created a public event. The first annual Get to Know Your Neighbor's Pig Roast, and celebrate Dave's new patio fixture. The details were simple. Saturday at 3 p.m. I'm providing the main course, a very main course. Please bring a side dish, some drinks, and a chair. All are welcome. My house, 1420 Sycamore. I invited everyone on my friends list. I invited the entire neighborhood group. I posted it publicly. The only person I did not personally invite was Brenda K. Williamson. The roast began at 4:00 a.m. on Saturday. In the pre-dawn darkness, I went out to the Nami. I opened the firebox. I built a beautiful, clean fire of charcoal and oak. I let it burn down to perfect, glowing coals. I loaded the 185-pound hog, which I'd rubbed down in a gallon of my special seasoning, into the main chamber. I shut the heavy, insulated stainless steel door. It closed with a soft, bank vault thud. I sat in a chair, sipped a coffee, and waited. The Nami was surprisingly quiet. It wasn't the campfire crackle of the Weber. It was a low industrial whoosh as the convection fan kicked in. But the aroma, oh, the aroma. By 7 a.m., as the sun was coming up, it started. It wasn't the smoke she'd complained about. This was different. This was the deep, rich, all-encompassing, atomized pork fat and spice smell of a professional smokehouse. It was glorious. The smell didn't just waft. It occupied. It colonized. It settled over the neighborhood like a delicious, pork-scented fog. It was a 12-hour, 5-block radius smell. I opened my window. It was beautiful. By 3:00 p.m., the party was in full swing. And the whole neighborhood came. Not kidding. The entire block. People I'd only ever waved to. They brought potato salad. They brought mac and cheese. They brought coolers of beer. Kids were running in the yard. Music was playing. "Dave, I had no idea," said my neighbor Tom, staring at the Nami. "When I heard the jackhammers, I thought you were putting in a hot tub. This is so much better." "I can't believe you built this," said another. I was a hero. I was the king of Sycamore Street. At 4:00 p.m., it was time. "It's ready," I bellowed. A hush fell over the crowd. I put on a pair of heavy-duty heat-proof gloves. I unlatched the main chamber. I opened the Nami. A cloud of steam and pork-scented glory rolled out, bathing us all. A cheer, a genuine, spontaneous cheer, went up from the 30 people in my yard. The pig was a work of art. The skin was a deep, crispy mahogany brown. I was just about to start serving. I had my carving knives ready. And as if on cue, sirens. But not one. Two. 2 police cars pulled up. They parked, blocking my driveway. The music died. Everyone turned. It was Officer Miller. And he had a sergeant, a big, mustachioed, "I eat gravel for breakfast, Sergeant." Brenda was on her porch, arms crossed, phone in hand. She looked triumphant. She'd clearly called in the big guns. She thought she finally had me. The sergeant stormed up my driveway, Miller trailing behind him, looking like he wished he was anywhere else on earth. "Okay, sir," the sergeant barked, his voice booming over the quiet party. "What in the hell is going on here?" The whole yard was silent. "We've had half a dozen calls from one person," he said, glaring at Brenda's house, "about an illegal commercial operation, unpermitted construction, and an unbearable odor." This was it, the main event. I wiped my hands on my "kiss the cook, but only if you're my wife" apron, and I smiled. "Afternoon, officers," I said, my voice cheerful. "Welcome to my party. Can I get you a plate? We're just about to carve." The sergeant was not amused. "Sir, I'm not here for a plate. I'm here about a complaint." "Well," I said, "I'm happy to clear it up. First, as for the operation, this is a private party. A potluck, see? Everyone brought a dish. I'm not selling a thing, just feeding my friends and neighbors." "And the construction?" he snapped. "Fully permitted," I said. "Gus's construction. My man Gus pulled the permit. City-approved patio extension. I'm sure it's on file." The sergeant's eye twitched. "And that," he said, pointing a thick finger at the swine Nami. I beamed. "That, Sergeant, is my new roaster. It's a Swine Nami 5000. It's fully UL listed for residential or commercial use, and as per Ordinance 47B, which I have right here." I reached into my back pocket. I pulled out the laminated ordinance. I handed it to him. It is not an open flame device. It's a fully enclosed indirect heat roaster. The fire is in a separate, contained firebox. The smoke is minimal, and it is fully compliant with city code. The sergeant took the laminated sheet. He read it. He looked at the roaster. He looked over at Brenda, who was now standing on her top step, vibrating with anticipation. He looked back at me. He looked at Officer Miller. "Is he right?" the sergeant barked at Miller. Miller, who I could tell was trying so hard not to laugh, just sighed. Technically. "Yeah, Sarge. He's right. I've been out here before. The ordinance is specifically about open flame. This is an enclosed, indirect heat unit. It's basically a giant outdoor convection oven. The ordinance says nothing about smell, just excessive open flame smoke. And the smoke is minimal. It's just very, very porky." The sergeant read the ordinance one more time. He looked at the NAMI. He looked at the 30 hungry, silent neighbors. He looked at the glorious 185-pound roasted hog. He turned and walked to the edge of my yard, facing Brenda's house. "Ma'am," he shouted, "he's on his private property. It's not a business, and he's not breaking any laws. There's nothing we can do." Brenda's face went from white to red to a sort of pale, sickly purple. She sputtered. But the smell! It's unbearable! It's in my hair!" I gave her a polite little wave. "Brenda, we're just about to eat. You sure I can't get you a plate? There's plenty." She made a sound like a deflating tire mixed with a boiling kettle. She glared at me, glared at the cops, and then stormed into her house. The door slammed so hard I think a picture fell off my wall. The entire yard was silent for a beat. Then, someone started to clap. Then everyone. The sergeant turned back to me. He handed me my laminated ordinance. He looked at me for a long, hard second. "Son," he said, a slow smile spreading under his mustache, "this is the most ridiculous, petty, and brilliant thing I have ever seen." "So," I said, holding up a paper plate. "A plate?" The sergeant looked at Miller. Miller just shrugged. "Yeah, fine," the sergeant grunted. "But I want some of that crispy skin. And you," he pointed at me, "don't make me come back here." "No promises, Sergeant," I said, handing him a heaping plate. "It's only May. Grilling season just started." Miller took a plate, too. "He means it, Sarge. He really, really means it." The party was a massive, roaring success. I was a legend. People I'd never met were shaking my hand, slapping me on the back. The swine NAMI incident became a neighborhood story, the kind people tell new movie-ins. And the funniest part? The party was so good, and the pork was so perfect, I actually got requests. "Hey Dave, my son's graduating. Any chance I could rent the NAMI? My wife's turning 40. What would you charge?" A month later, I had a registered LLC. Dave's Nuisance BBQ. My tagline, printed on the business cards Mike designed for me. So good, it ought to be illegal. I had bookings every weekend for the rest of the summer. The Swine NAMI 5000, my beautiful monument to spite, paid for itself by Labor Day. And Brenda? The "For Sale" sign went up on her lawn 3 days after the pig roast. It was the fastest, most quiet surrender in the history of suburban warfare. I heard she moved into a condo association, one with a 40-page rulebook that probably banned joy and pleasant smells. The new neighbors? A lovely family. A young couple with 2 kids. The first time I met the husband, he walked over while I was prepping the NAMI for a gig. "Whoa," he said, his eyes wide with reverence. Is that the swine NAMI?" He'd heard the story. "That it is," I said. "I'm Dave." "I'm Mark," he said, shaking my hand. We were really hoping the stories were true. Listen, when's the next neighborhood roast? Because we make a killer 7-layer dip." "I'm out on my patio right now. It's a quiet Tuesday. I'm just grilling a few hot dogs for lunch on my old, faithful Weber kettle. The swine NAMI is covered nearby, a silent, stainless steel guardian resting before its next paying gig. You know, in the end, I guess I should thank her. Brenda K. Williamson. I've got a new hobby, a thriving side hustle, and I'm the most popular guy on the block. They say, good fences make good neighbors. It's a nice thought. But sometimes what you really need is a 200-pound hog and a commercial roaster, and a laminated copy of your city ordinances. Never, ever forget the laminate.